Thank you so much. It's lovely to meet you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
So, what I want to do, and just to give you a background in terms of what this podcast is all about, I work with a lot of families who are going through that separation and divorce process and who are coming up to deciding, is the relationship right? Do they stay? Do they leave? And this is about teaching people that relationships aren't always the fairy tale, that there are obstacles, that there are issues, and that we might not always feel the fireworks and the sparks and all of that comes that we see in the Hollywood movies, but they can be good. And people go through real life struggles and we get through them.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I start off by asking you a few questions in terms of the past of your relationship, and we'll talk about some struggles that you might have overcome, and then we'll have a little bit of a game halfway through, and then we'll wrap it all up at the end. Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
How much time would you say overall?
About 30 to 40 minutes.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And then what I will get you to do, though, I'm just going to put it in the chat. Before we get started, if I can just get you both to introduce yourself just using this script, and we just use that in the intro of the podcast.
That sounds great. And JJ, you go first, okay? Oh, she says,
So,
is she supposed to say it all?
Yeah. Well, except you say you're hi, but I'll say hi, you say hi, but then so relationship type. So what is our type?
Are you married? Are you partners, de facto, whatever type you want to call yourself?
We're fake married.
Fake married. We say that all the time. It's my fake wife.
So that's why. Yeah, so that's why. Anyway,
you want humorous? Do you want straight? Or tell me, how do you want it? Because we can.
Let's go humorous, because this is what this is about. At the end of the
Okay.
day, we've got to shed some light on the relationships. So go for it.
Okay.
All right, so you'll do the second part of that then. Okay, JJ.
How about I start, then you come in, and then I'll finish.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
All right. Yep. Sounds good. Oh, are we going now? Okay.
We're all good.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
How about 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm JJ Flizette.
Well, you said me.
I was going to go first. No, I didn't. I said me, then you, then back to me.
Oh, I got it. Keep that in. Don't edit that out. This is perfect.
No, it's staying in.
All right, good. Go ahead, JJ. You start again.
How we always start our shows. Hi, I'm JJ Flizanes.
Hey, I'm Doug Sandler.
And we are fake married, and we've been fake married for about 4 years.
Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so I'm going to kick it off, and by asking you both, how did you first meet?
We met in 2017 at Podcast Movement, September 2017 at Podcast Movement. That's how we met. And I can elaborate. Again, if you want a 30 to 40 minute show, I'm trying to keep the sound bites.
We're trying to keep it. Yeah, we are definitely talkers. I will go on. You don't even need to ask any questions, Lorrie. I will be happy just to chat for 40 minutes with myself.
Well, hey, I've listened to your podcast, Doug. So yes.
We met at a podcasting conference, and actually it was a mutual acquaintance, friend-ish. I mean, not really. I'm not super close to her. I don't know that you were super close to her, but she and I were hanging out at the conference, and she was walking me around the floor of where the sponsors are, and said, "Oh, you know who show you?" We were passing Doug and his partner Strickland, and she stopped. She went, "Doug, you didn't have JJ on your show." And he stood up and he went, "Okay." And he was like, "Hi." He looked very confused, and he gave me his card. And she said, "Oh, and you two are going to be together in San Diego next month at New Media Summit." And so Doug was like, "Okay, here's my card, and you can be in touch, and I'll see you in San Diego." And I was like, "Okay, bye." And that was literally, besides him coming back from bowling and us all being like outside, I mean, we really didn't talk very much at all.
And I knew from the very moment that I met JJ that I was definitely not going to like her. It was totally the direction I was going. And it took me a little while to formulate my thoughts and my words to her. But I think at some point I probably said something like, you intimidated me. You were too smart for me. There were so many reasons why I was not. Oh, wait a minute. I was married too.
And so was I.
And so is JJ. So we started off as friends and then clients, and then I was a client of hers, and that's kind of how I'm sure we'll get into all that conversation, but that's basically the beginning of our relationship.
And so now we're fake married. What does that mean?
Doug.
Well, okay, so I guess I'm responsible for being fake married, because if it was probably up to JJ, we would probably be real married. And my joke is I've been married and divorced twice before I met JJ, and or the second one was in the process when I started getting involved with JJ, and I'm like, the only common denominator, or the common denominator in all of my failed marriages is me, and why do I want to start this again if it's going to end up like that? So I'm like, maybe we shouldn't do this. So that was just my thought. The reality of it is, I'm sure at one point we will get married. I'm just not in a hurry to get married, but we own property together. And in California, that's better than married.
And to be fair, I also was like, I don't need to get married again when we first got together. And then I did shift, because after the pain of the divorce and the thinking of all that and kind of faded away, I thought, well, I've only been married once, and I don't really like the fact that there's only one person on this planet who I have called husband, and it isn't you. So I have definitely changed my mind on that. But like Doug, I'm not necessarily in any kind of rush, but we know we'll be together forever. So it's not really about trying to create some kind of security. It's just because even when you have security, you think you have security. It's still a choice every day. You wake up every day and you choose to be either conscious and present in your relationship, or you check out and you're married for years and years, but you have no relationship. You have no sex life. You have no compassion. You have no intimacy. You have no connection. And at least, for us, we choose each other every day, and we will continue, I'm sure, after we get married, but it's a more conscious choice this time around.
I love the term though, fake married. I've never heard it, and I think you should go and trademark that term, because it is a great one.
Hey, JJ, we only have 12 podcasts between the two of us. Maybe we have a 13th podcast and call it Fake Married.
Why you want to be fake married? Well, because I don't want to be fake married forever. So, it would only last. It'd be very temporary. Maybe
it's a season. It's a season of episodes.
Yeah, it's a bridge. We should talk about it on your show.
Okay, well, we will, I'm sure.
On one of your Friday shows.
On relationships, don't you, JJ?
We do. We could put it on there. We could put it on my show also. Maybe we will put it on. See, we love to record at times something that goes on everybody's show. So we're very efficient, and the one episode usually. So yeah, I'm sure we could. I know your community's heard you probably refer to me as your fake wife or fake married. I think my community might have once or twice when you've been on the show, but it's a fun term. It doesn't sound so fun because fake doesn't always feel good, but it's a bridge.
It is, but it's said with humor and it's said with love.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
absolutely.
That's the main thing. So can I ask, have you two ever had a fight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Can you remember your first fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I just talked about it today.
JJ has a memory that will never let go of things. So not meaning she doesn't hold a grudge. She just remembers everything. So yeah, what was our first argument about, JJ? I don't remember.
Well, I think one of our first fights that became a thing, besides when Doug first moved in, he, from his past marriage, had a little bit of an abandonment issue, which actually tracks back to his dad.
I remember this.
So, and I was personal training at the time before I had retired from personal training, and I have early morning clients. And so I'm of the, I love my sleep, don't bother me while I'm sleeping. And so I would be very quiet and I would leave the house because it was very early in the morning and let him sleep. And he'd get up and feel abandoned because I had left. And he'd be like, why didn't you come in and say goodbye? And I said, because you were sleeping. I don't want to wake you up. Because if you wake me up, the chances of me getting back to sleep are harder sometimes. So I was being considerate, but he was feeling wounded. So that was probably our first fight. But the fight that became a thing, that kind of went away.
It's the food one. The food one. Is
yep,
that
the food one. So I work with couples and relationships also, and coaching and stuff, and we use a lot of different tools. And I've done Imago work for a long time, and the couples dialogue. So we've used the couples dialogue many times. It's one of our favorite tools to really uncover what's going on for each person in sort of a fight that happens all the time. And I knew from the beginning what was happening with him, with me, but it was this food fight that we would have because we ordered Green Chef and I was eating keto, and they'd give you vegetables that were like kale and cabbage and things that Doug wasn't used to eating. His whole eating has changed since meeting me, but he wasn't eating it. And I would get like, it would trigger something in me. It would trigger a fear in me and then a frustration in me. And for him, it would trigger him feeling a lack of freedom. So it happened like 3 times. Like they were little. They weren't like yelly fights or anything. They were just little like jabs of like, well, you know, and then not feeling good about it. So by the 3rd time it happened, I was like, all right, we need to have a couples dialogue about this. So he went in his office and he grabbed his feelings and needs list, and he did his due diligence to see what his needs were, and which I didn't expect him to do, which was awesome. And then we met in the bedroom and we talked about it. And I let him go first because I wanted him to express his feelings, which were, do you want to tell your feelings?
I swear, I mean, I know we did the couples dialogue, but I do not remember the words that we said. You know, I always say to JJ, I don't remember the words that we said to each other, but I remember how they made me feel. I'm a very emotional, feely guy. And maybe I'm different than most guys. Maybe I'm the same as most guys, but I feel like I remember the feeling. I just don't remember the action.
In the details.
In the details.
You were feeling, because of your past traumas of sort of being a slower eater and having people say, hurry up, Doug, or let's take your food with you, or you felt a certain lack of autonomy and freedom around food. And
Yes.
that was showing up in when I would get triggered and say something, he would want to kind of be like, don't tell me what to eat. Like, I'm gonna eat whatever I want. I'm an adult. I can eat whatever I want. And I got that. So he expressed his need for autonomy and freedom of choice and being a man and making his own decisions, which I was totally supportive of. Then we got to me. And my first question was, so do you ever like get nervous about thinking about having to take care of me in the future physically? And he was like, no, you're going to take care of yourself or you're going to tell me what to do. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I know that my whole life is going to change when you need care. I'm going to basically have to be your nurse. And so what you eat now also affects what happens in the future. And so I'm looking at you taking care of yourself now as a contribution to my life in the future. And then I cried because it was all about, I finally found you and I don't want you to go. I want you to be alive forever. And please just take really good care of yourself because I love you so much and I want you to be around forever. So that was our first fight. And that was how we dealt with it. We did a couples dialogue. We figured out what it was about. Everybody felt heard and seen. And it's never been an issue since.
That's awesome. But isn't it really good, JJ, that you have those skills to go back and say, this is what we need to do to get over it?
The tools are everything. The tools are everything. Without the tools, you're just 2 people in a sailboat that has a sail but doesn't have anything securing the sail to let the wind get in it. And so these tools that JJ always shares with me, I mean, this is partly why I love her so much, because I do feel safe and I do feel secure and I do feel, I can feel like a man, but I can still be emotional, and I can not have all of the words, but figure out the words by using a chart to figure out the words. And for people to feel like you can't have a crutch or a tool to help you work through things, you know, in a previous marriage, my ex, she was always processing. And
she wasn't really processing.
There was never resolution. And so I felt like, oh my gosh, here's another opportunity to process, but never resolve. And that was always challenging for me. So I applaud JJ for having these amazing tools, some of which she has created and some of which she has adapted, you know, based upon the profession that she is in. So, you know, I love it. I mean, it really does help things tremendously.
Well, his second marriage kind of broke him open consciously, and he had never been heartbroken before, even though his first marriage was almost 20 years. But he was young, and he was one of those like, oh, nice Jewish woman, it's time to have kids, like looking at the clock, and it's not that you don't know until you know, like until you feel a different feeling, you just don't know. And he didn't know any better. And so when he didn't know any differently, he was doing things from a head space and from, you know, not being swept off his feet in love. And his 2 amazing, wonderful kids, and still friends with his ex-wife. And then the second one was more of that kind of puppy love thing that most people have when they're 15 and 16 and get their heart broken. Doug did not have that. So he now has, and his heart's broken open, and he's ready. Cause now, you know, you're married and divorced twice. like that. And then not even the shame of that, if there is any, it's more of the heartbreak for him. It was like, I don't understand how people live through this. This is like, I now understand what the country songs, the sad songs are talking about, because I've never felt this like before.
Oh, the physical pain. It was, I mean, literally standing in the shower, the water hitting my body and hurting, and just the fear of going anywhere outside and just having any reminder that it was unbearable for me. I mean, it wasn't like, this was traumatic. And for a guy that's pretty emotionally stable, it was a big challenge. I can imagine anyone that has any kind of psychological predisposition to anxiety or depression would have a catastrophic opportunity happening to them. And so my heart bleeds for those that are experiencing that. Know there is hope on the other side of it too, but you need the right tools. You need the right tools.
And the tools came out of me trying to save my marriage. So I started my podcast, Fit to Love, to save my marriage. And I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't like say, hey, I'm going to save my marriage with the podcast. It was more of, I was willing to grow and learn. That's who I am. And I wanted a way to communicate to my ex-husband in a way that wasn't coming from me. Like, you know, I'm wise enough to know that men don't listen to their wives when they're telling them what to do or how to grow, and vice versa. Like, really, spouses shouldn't be each other's therapists. You should be each other's friends. But that was the problem. We weren't really friends like that. So it became this coaching thing that I couldn't get out of. So I thought, well, if I bring on people to talk about something, to teach me what I don't know and to teach me more skills and tools, and possibly if he listens, he'll hear it, because I knew he was open and I knew he would hear it from somebody else. It was the block of me. So I started the podcast to help that. And that's how I learned the tools. And I did. So, I mean, that's why I have them, is because I needed them and I tried to use them, and I've used them successfully as best I could in that situation. But ultimately, it was grooming me to be doing what I'm doing, and of course, manifest the love of my life.
Doug, right at the start, you said that you were a client of JJ's first. So did these tools, do you think, help you not only in overcoming the trauma of the breakup that you went through, but then also prepare you for how you two would grow as a couple?
Well, I think it happened slightly differently than that, because when I had hired JJ, I was hiring her as a physical trainer. She was a trainer, so weightlifting and things, but she still had a number of these tools in her toolbox. And so in some subliminal, not really subliminal way, she was throwing some of these tools in as we were working out. Just an example that I use, most back pain is psychological. You know, you don't really have a trauma to your back. It's probably stress, tension, anxiety, the things that you might collect, and they collect in your lower back or your upper back or your neck or your arms or wherever it is as a person that it would collect. So she would throw these tools in as a part of our training and ask me some questions, me not really even understanding the questions at the time, because you're completely oblivious when you don't know the questions, the purpose of the question, but you're answering the question anyway. So it wasn't really until we got deep into our relationship, things like when I eventually had moved in with JJ after, there's a whole breakup story with my wife and a breakup story with her ex-husband also. And the law of attraction brought us together. The whole opportunity just was unbelievable, coincidental, which there's no such thing. But it wasn't really until those first few arguments, out of adversity comes the tool. So clarity came from the result of us having these complex moments within the early stages of our relationship where I needed some solution or some wound to be open so that it could begin healing. And that's where JJ really, really came in, very supportive and very useful for me. I don't know what the hell I've done for her that's positive, but I do know that I've gotten a lot from her. My support, maybe that might be my tool. I don't know. I'm not really sure. She could tell you more about what my tool is, but for me, her tools were the way that she helped me support me through letting me feel the feels, but at the same time being there to help me cope with what I was dealing with.
So JJ, what has Doug done for you?
Oh my God. Well, what I didn't realize, I think someone had said to me, or maybe if someone would have said to me that in my last relationship that I was being held back. I teach people how to get out of victim mentality and take responsibility for everything, even things you don't think you have any hand in. based on quantum physics and law of attraction, but that you can come from an empowered place when you take responsibility for even more than you think you should. Just everything, how people react to you, things that happen, how you feel, of course, and what you interpret that to mean, because you come from a place of having something to do about it. If you own it, if you've helped to create it, you can create something different, you can figure it out. But when you're in victim mentality, you're a victim and somebody else's fault. Those words of you're being held back never resonated with me, and they wouldn't have in that situation, because I was with him and I wrote 2 books. I started a podcast. I had an event. Like I didn't see myself as not allowing myself to have a business and do what I wanted to do until I was out of it. And then I had Doug, who is an entrepreneur, and my ex was not. And he has a very positive, his father was a very, very, very successful entrepreneur, very well known around the world. And so he's got a bigger than life way of expecting good things to happen. It's an awesome trait. And so when I saw that in my last relationship, I would only grow as far as I thought my ex could handle. And what that did was clip my wings, because I would have probably gone faster and done more and stepped out more and taken bigger risks had I felt safe and accepted and supported, and not like a threat, or not that my growth would threaten our marriage, which I did. So again, that's not on him. That's on me. That's on both of us. I don't blame him for that. He's who he is, and he works 9 to 5. He does a 9 to 5 job. He's not an entrepreneur. He's never been an entrepreneur. And there's just and not that all entrepreneurs act the same either. But so Doug, I just felt my wingspan, and it's still. And one of the best things Doug has ever said to me, because I know my ex felt like what he felt this, whether it be a codependent need or like, okay, we have to always be together, like we're a unit. And I'm like, no, we're not a unit. We're separate. We have to be whole people to get like separate from each other to be better together. It's not we're like a we. I mean, we're a we, and that's an important part, but we have to be good separately too. And I always felt like there was this need for always together. And I'm a very together, quality time is my love language. I'm always together in a on the same page, or if I'm not reading him correctly, exactly the way he wanted, I'd be at fault. There was a little bit of that victim mentality of that. I hurt his feelings all the time, and I'd have to use that as emotional manipulation to, get me to change my behavior. So it wasn't extremely conscious, even though he has the capacity for that. He has it in him, but he has no examples of his family of doing that. And so it ended up that he, in the beginning, tried to keep up with me, and he would do things with me. And then at one point he dug his heels in and said, I'm not, because he saw it as I can never keep up with you. I will never. So in his mind, I'm always going to fail. I'm always going to try. I'm always going to fail. And if I can't win at this game, I'm going to stop playing. And that's exactly what happened. Is we all know men play for points. So he didn't feel like he was getting any points. He wasn't going to get any points. So he wasn't going to play. And Doug doesn't have that need. He has a certain need for points in the way of affirmations and being affirmed and appreciated. But he's like, hey, you go be as big as you want to be. I don't got to keep up with you. I support whatever you're doing. I'm not threatened by what you're doing. And that wasn't the case the first time around, even though I have complete compassion for that. So Doug has allowed me the support and the love and the freedom to grow as fast, as wide, as big, as different, just to let it out, let it be, and just skyrocket to anything I want to do.
I think I said this to you the other day. I said, I'm fine being your Stedman. If you want to be Oprah, that's totally fine with me. This is good. I don't want to keep up, and I don't need to keep up. I love watching her soar. It is amazing over the last 4 years to watch just the growth in the last 4 years, not only professionally, but personally as well. So, I very much respect and appreciate and encourage what JJ is doing with every part of her life.
They're beautiful words. How does that make you feel, JJ?
Oh, I have a feng shui lady who worked with me at my home that Doug moved into before when I was with my ex, and she had come in and she had feng shuied the house, and a year later we were switching people. And so then I had her come back because now there's a different person in the house, and she was not surprised when she came back, and because she does the charts too, and she looked at that. And then when we bought this house, actually she came to the apartment when we got it, and then she came. So I've had her 4 times. So when we bought this house last year and she came to do the house, the feng shui, she says, Gigi, because she's French, You just get happier every time I see you. You're the happiest I've ever seen you. So, it feels amazing. It feels freeing. It feels supportive. It feels safe. And yeah, and that's not something I have had a lot of.
So do you two do anything in particular to maintain that connection? Do you have date nights? Do you have frequent catch-ups, meetings? What
Yeah,
is
I'll
it
tell
that
you,
you do?
it's the time that I leave the house and give her opportunity to have her me time, because we are all the time all together. I know that her freedom is important for her, and I'm a homebody. I would stay in the house. I love my house. We have a very nice pool in our backyard, and we live in a great neighborhood. And I have all of my cars are here, and my animals are here, and it's like all of that. I never want to leave my house. And I know that probably drives JJ crazy. Fortunately, I have to travel every once in a while for one of the businesses that I own. And so I think that, yes, we do a whole bunch of stuff together. I'll let JJ cover the stuff that we do together, but she likes her me time too.
I don't get a lot of it, but and that's okay. Because it tested us, because I went from a spouse that left the house for 8 hours a day, and I had the whole house to myself. And then right now that dynamic, and now like Doug's never gone. He's always here. We're always together. I mean, minus when we're working or like separately being interviewed or interviewing other people, like we're always together. And that took a little bit of getting used to, actually at first. So, but because of who we are and where we are in our lives, and being able to have tools to say, hey, I could use some freedom, or hey, don't you have some friends so you can leave the house so I can have the house to myself. I love when I get the house by myself, and he does too. Even because our behaviors change when the other one leaves, because we have this sort of sense of freedom. I mean, I'm more of a slob when he leaves, because it's like exercising your freedom, even though you'd never do it normally, but it's just like pushing the bounds. So when he first moved in, and again, my underlying, I guess, most important thing for me was always the relationship. I knew and trusted that I'd have the relationship that I wanted. I just didn't know it was going to be in another person. So all the exercises and things that I did, law of attraction, did prepare me for Doug. And then when he came, and when he moved, and then he moved in, it was okay. I was like, okay, now I'm going to get you all the things I want to do. You're an entrepreneur, so I get to manipulate your schedule. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to go to the beach. We're going to walk on the beach. We're going to meditate. We're going to do a practice. And you're not going to work until 10 o'clock on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to find time to go to the gym. On Friday nights, we're going to have date night. Every quarter, we're going to go away for the weekend. And once or twice a year, we're going to go on a week vacation. So
I'm exhausted just listening to that schedule.
But Doug will tell you, because he had never had that much me time.
No, never.
And I had not had that much scheduled like meditation. I mean, I was a trainer, so I was working out, but I mean, I had, these blocks, and now the block is 7 to 11 on Monday, Wednesday. And now we take off all day Monday and all day Friday. Anyway, the more time he takes off, the more money he makes. So it quickly showed him that this whole idea of like having to work harder to make more, always be on the computer. It's like the more he doesn't work, the more he gets paid, and the more clients he attracts. So we do still have our Monday, Wednesday, Friday cardio, hiking, whatever, walking, our Tuesday, Thursday gym. We have dinner together every night. We don't, in terms of other special things, we travel once or twice a year. We've gone to Europe a couple of times, but because we spend so much time with each other, it is nice when we go away, because then you miss the person for a couple of days. You're like, hey, I don't have you sleeping next to me, or where are the cats? Every time we go away, he wasn't a cat person. And now we go away and he'll say, I would like to order one cat smothering, please. Like, he is totally flipped into a cat dad after a couple of years, when he was like cats. I mean, didn't not like them, but he just wasn't like,
I need my cats lying on me.
and
so
he's
then what's
malleable.
the longest period that you haven't spoken for?
Oh,
Haven't spoken?
Because we've been away from each other?
Yeah.
Well, we've talked every day for
maybe during one of my masterminds, when I was maybe like in Atlanta, or I was in Orlando, possibly there might have been, I mean, I still talk to you, but maybe like 48 hours.
Maybe
48 hours.
Right. But we still probably texted or left video messages or something like that.
Barcode or something. Yeah. We haven't really been apart for any extended length of time. Yeah. 48 hours is probably the most.
So you
Why
give
should
him
we
your me
be
time.
should we be away more?
But
Do we
it's
have to?
curious in terms of you like your me time, but you're still maintaining that connection when you are apart.
Well, I like my me time. I lived by myself for 10 years in New York City and then in LA. And because I didn't have a roommate in New York and I didn't have a roommate in LA either until my ex-husband moved in. So I got very used to, and I think it's a very healthy thing for people to learn how to live by themselves and learn how to create joy by themselves and learn how to like their own company. I think it's really important. Doug hasn't had as much time by himself. And so, and he
Well,
doesn't need me.
only since I was 21 though, so it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, because you're only 30. So I just think it depends on the person. Sometimes there's more of a like I have to be or be connected from a scarcity. I think at first when Doug got here because of his trauma with his last marriage and feeling unsafe in it, that the whole like JJ's leaving and doesn't say goodbye, like right. And now it doesn't happen because the feelings have changed. So and when I need time, I mean, we're best friends. So that's the other thing is like where the difference of my first marriage versus now is that we were friends first, and not that we were super close friends, but we were colleagues. He was my client. But we were getting ready to like be friends after he was done working with me. It wasn't a long-term, going to be my client forever kind of thing. But I was looking forward to being his friend. And that's, if my father said one thing at my wedding that I'll never forget, it was like always be friends first. And that never worked out in my last relationship. So we're best friends, and he's my person and I'm his person. So I'm sure at some point we will have distance at some point, but we're not looking for it. We don't need it. And if I do need it, I'll take it. I did take it actually in February. I remember I went away for a retreat, but that was so that I could focus on work. I went away for, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights, like not even an hour away on the beach. But that wasn't to get away from him. That was just for me to literally get away from life to focus on writing something, creating something, like a creative project.
Nice. So can I play a game with you too?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to ask a bunch of questions and I want you to say who it relates to more. Okay.
All right.
We are recording this, so there will be the visual, but there will also just from an audio perspective, if you can say each other's names. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So the first question, who is more likely to start a fight or get upset first?
That would be Doug.
Who has the shorter temper?
JJ.
Who said hello first?
Nicole.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go JJ. I'm gonna go JJ.
Probably me.
Who is the most forgetful?
Me, no doubt.
Doug.
Who picks better movies?
Oh, well, we have our own types of movies. I would say JJ picks better movies for the two of us.
Who has the more speeding tickets?
I've never had one, so it's got to be JJ.
Me. JJ.
Who is the neatest?
Oh,
Doug.
please. Me.
But who is the most annoying?
Well, that would probably be me also. Yeah, I have all my Dougisms. Yeah, that would be me.
So who cooks the most?
JJ.
And who is more likely to remember important dates in your relationship?
JJ.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that.
Sure.
Can I ask one thing? What do you think the secret to your relationship is?
Well, JJ's father said it right. Be friends first. And I really do. I do think that is an essential component. It's probably not the only component. I think understand that you're responsible for your own feelings, and don't hold your partner responsible for the way that you feel. That's all your own work to do. Just know that most of the time when you're seeing your partner in a bad light, you're probably looking at their core negative image, their CNI. We talk about that all the time. That would probably be it for me.
You want me to give
Yeah.
So I was just at my good friend's bridal shower, and one of the cards said about like they asked all these relationship questions and sort of things like don't do this and make sure you do this. And and like the secret to your marriage or your long lasting relationship. And I said to appreciate each other daily and to laugh and have fun. Don't forget that that's the reason why people are together, is to enjoy life together, not to necessarily get anything done, but to enjoy life and have fun and appreciation. Well, it's Doug's love language, words of affirmation first and foremost. And it might have been my ex's and nobody knew it. And it might have changed things had either one of us figured that out. It probably wouldn't have, but just because divine contracts, I'm supposed to be here. And I learned everything there. But appreciation, because otherwise, like, what, just take time every day to appreciate something your partner did and tell them and reflect back to them. Those words, even if words of affirmation aren't your thing, they'll penetrate and they'll go into the subconscious, and the other person will feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And then have a good time. Just play with each other.
So then what's your favorite game, JJ?
Code names.
Are we talking about board game? Okay. So my favorite game board is Code Names, but we can't play it just the two of us. It needs to be at least, we can do 3, but it's better with 4 or more. We go salsa dancing every other Saturday because I'm a dancer. He's a dancer too, but he's learning salsa because obviously you like learn moves in salsa. It's not just free form. It's not free form at all, actually. And so, you know, he's open to that and he loves dancing. And so for me, playing is going dancing. Playing is going traveling. You know, I want to go back to Italy, and I'm like, God, I think my body's calling me back to Italy for my birthday. And when I think about it, I just light up, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't want to go somewhere smart or like cheap or like, just because I don't want to be logical. I want to play. I want to go play. So definitely travel, dancing. I don't know what else do we love to do. I mean, we dance around the house. We make up songs, and we used to have a dance party in the morning with our coffee. That was like our normal ritual in our last place. I cut it out since I got rid of Alexa, but we could bring it back. We should have to remember to put the speaker on and press somebody's Spotify, and then we could do it again. But now we have this whole big outdoor. And so we're like, oh, there's outdoors and a pool and a backyard, and we get to go out there. So maybe we can have a backyard dance party in the morning now.
Well, you know, you could jump into that pool, except it's coming up to winter for you guys, isn't it?
Oh, it's still 80
and we have a hot tub back there too, so it's fine.
With a hot tub. Actually, I did that once. Put the hot tub on in the morning, get in there first, and then get in the cold pool. It's very refreshing.
Oh, you're a gamer than I am.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, Doug, you know where JJ wants to go for a birthday, so you've got that present all sorted.
Believe me, she's no stranger to telling me where she wants to go. So she just billboard. Let's go to Italy. I'm sure we are going to be going to Italy or somewhere very fun for her birthday in March, and I'm all about it. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to both of you for joining me today.
Thanks, Lorrie. Thanks for having us.